Commander Jonathan Mills stood on the balcony of the Earth Space Command Station, his eyes fixed on the sky. Hundreds of massive alien ships, unlike anything humanity had ever seen, hovered silently over the planet. Their smooth, dark metal hulls reflected the sunlight, glinting like a warning to everyone below. The Galthar had arrived, and they brought a presence that made even the bravest soldiers pause. These were not explorers. These were conquerors. The Galthar were confident. Their technology was centuries ahead of anything humans had developed. Their warships could tear through satellites as if they were paper. Their weapons could vaporize entire city blocks in minutes. To them, humanity was primitive, weak, fragile. They had traveled across the stars expecting an easy victory, believing that humans would surrender without a fight. They did not understand that humans were different. Down on the ground, Dr. Rachel Hayes, a lead scientist in the Global Defense Initiative, moved quickly through a maze of emergency tunnels. Her hair was tied back, her face set in determination. She had spent years preparing for something like this, but nothing could fully prepare her for the reality of seeing alien ships so close. Her team worked feverishly, activating defense protocols, moving essential equipment into bunkers, and ensuring that evacuation zones were clear. Every second mattered. Nearby, Mark Taylor, a senior engineer, coordinated the deployment of defense drones and automated turrets. His hands were steady despite the chaos, giving instructions over the radio to teams scattered across multiple continents. Position the interceptors at the northern grid. Shield generators at full power, he barked, his voice calm but commanding. He knew that every mistake could cost lives, and he refused to allow fear to take control. Civilian evacuations were in full swing. Cities buzzed with the frantic energy of people trying to reach safety. Mothers clutched their children tightly, elders were guided to shelters, and volunteers moved with incredible speed to assist wherever they were needed. Yet, amidst the fear, there was a quiet courage, a determination to survive, to help, and to resist. Even ordinary people who had never handled a weapon found ways to contribute. Humanity was rising together, and no one could have predicted the strength that would come from their unity. From the command ship hovering above Earth, a booming voice spoke across all communication channels. The aliens' message was clear: surrender peacefully and your species will be spared. Resist and extinction will follow. The Galthar expected obedience. They expected to see fear in human eyes. Jonathan Mills listened to the message, his jaw tight. He was a tall man with a commanding presence that demanded attention. He had faced countless crises in his career, but nothing like this. He looked around at his officers, at the civilians streaming through the bunkers, at the scientists and engineers working tirelessly. And then he spoke. His voice carried across the command room, firm and resolute. "We may be small," he said, "but we never give up. We will not surrender. Not now. Not ever." There was a hush as the words settled over the room. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Outside, the massive alien ships seemed to pulse with a quiet menace, yet inside the command station, a spark of hope had ignited. Humans had a way of defying expectation. They had survived floods, earthquakes, plagues, and wars. They had endured hardship and cruelty and had risen stronger each time. The Galthar had underestimated this spirit. High above, the alien commanders monitored the human activity. Their screens displayed cities filled with lights, military formations, and strange, unpredictable patterns of resistance. They did not understand the subtle strength of human creativity, courage, and improvisation. They had assumed a single strike would break the will of the people. But even now, humanity moved with determination and adaptability, qualities that no technology alone could destroy. Jonathan Mills moved to the observation deck, joined by Dr. Hayes and Mark Taylor. They watched as fighter jets scrambled into the sky, small but fast, weaving through the shadows of the alien vessels. Rockets were launched from hidden silos, and drones zipped toward the approaching armada. It was not much in comparison to the vast alien fleet, but it was enough to show that humans would resist. Dr. Rachel Hayes adjusted a console, sending signals to hidden satellites to prepare emergency countermeasures. "We may not be able to match them ship for ship," she said, her voice steady, "but we can fight smart. We can use what we have, what they don't expect. Every advantage matters." Mark Taylor nodded. "They may have more firepower, but they don't have the human factor. The unpredictability, the courage, the willingness to stand together. That's our strength." The aliens observed from above, trying to analyze the humans. But the more they watched, the less predictable humanity seemed. People evacuated with order and care, fought with courage, and made split-second decisions that confounded the aliens' calculations. Every movement, every choice, seemed guided by something beyond logic, by spirit. Meanwhile, on the streets, civilians joined efforts wherever they could. Young men and women carried supplies, assisted in building makeshift defenses and guided others to safety. Even children displayed courage, helping elderly neighbors escape and keeping morale high with small acts of bravery. Humanity's determination was not centralized in leaders or soldiers alone. It flowed through every person. As the alien ships hovered closer, their weapons ready, Jonathan Mills addressed the control room again. "This is more than a battle," he said. "It's a statement. Humanity does not surrender. We survive because we fight together. Every person here, every scientist, soldier, and civilian, your courage matters. Stand firm. Protect what we love. Show them who we are." Outside, the first shadows of the alien landing craft fell over the city, massive shapes moving with precision and intent. Lights flashed on Earth's surface as defense systems activated. Rockets screamed toward the sky, and fighter jets streaked past the alien vessels in daring maneuvers. It was a small but significant display of resistance, a message to the invaders that humans would not yield without a fight. The Galdar were beginning to sense something unexpected. Their calculations, their simulations all failed to predict the scale of human resolve. They had assumed humans would be cowed by fear, that cities would crumble and governments would surrender. Instead, humans adapted instantly, combining courage with creativity. Every strike humans made was different, every defense unique. Jonathan Mills looked at Dr. Hayes and Mark Taylor, and they exchanged a glance of shared determination. "They may have underestimated us," Mills said quietly, "but they will learn, though perhaps too late, that humans never surrender." And for the first time across the stars, a ripple of unease passed through the Galdar fleet. They had expected easy victory. They had expected compliance. Instead, they were facing something new, something they had never truly understood, the unyielding, unbreakable human spirit. The night sky above Earth glowed with streaks of fire and light as humanity made its first stand. Small, fragile, but alive, humans were proving that survival was more than technology, more than power. It was courage, unity, and the will to fight for every moment of life. Commander Jonathan Mills watched and felt a strange sense of hope amidst the tension. Earth was threatened, the enemy vast and deadly, but for the first time he saw a truth the aliens would soon regret underestimating. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not afraid to fight. Humanity would never surrender. And so, the battle for Earth was about to begin, but the Galdar would soon discover that victory over humans was far more complicated than they had imagined. The sky over Earth was filled with fire. Alien ships unleashed their plasma cannons, cutting through the clouds and striking cities with terrifying precision. Buildings crumbled, streets cracked, and the screams of terrified civilians filled the air. It seemed for a moment that the Galdar would sweep across the planet with unstoppable force. But humans did not falter. Even as chaos spread, people moved quickly, adapting to the sudden threat. Emergency sirens screamed, but humans had rehearsed drills for disasters, and now they turned that preparation into survival. Soldiers, scientists, and ordinary citizens acted together, forming a network of resistance. Each person contributed in ways that the aliens could not anticipate. High above the chaos, Emily Parker gripped the controls of her fighter jet. She was one of Earth's best pilots, known for her sharp reflexes and fearless maneuvers. Her squadron scrambled into the sky, weaving through alien drones and dodging plasma blasts. Every move was precise but daring, unpredictable. The Galdar had never seen humans fight like this. They expected fear, they expected retreat, but what they saw was determination. Emily led her team in rapid loops and dives, drawing fire away from civilians below. She coordinated with satellites, using signals from Dr. Rachel Hayes' team to anticipate alien movements. Every small success, every drone destroyed or supply ship disabled, was a victory that boosted morale across the planet. Meanwhile, on the ground, Mark Taylor and his engineering team worked frantically. Rubble blocked streets, fires raged uncontrollably, but Mark's team moved with calm efficiency. They rescued trapped civilians, carrying them through dust and smoke. Children clung to their parents, and neighbors helped each other up broken stairs. Humanity was showing its resilience, not through technology alone, but through courage, determination, and solidarity. Engineers like Linda Cooper went to work reactivating old, dormant weapons. Missiles that had been decommissioned, energy shields that had never been fully tested, and satellites that had been left in orbit were brought back online. Every device, no matter how small, became a tool in humanity's desperate fight. The ingenuity of humans turned obsolete tools into a makeshift arsenal, and each strike surprised the Galdar. They could not believe how humans combined limited resources with clever tactics. In one city, the aliens unleashed drones to sweep the streets. The drones moved like swarms of metallic insects scanning for life. But humans set traps, rigged electrical pulses, and used decoys to confuse them. Even children played a part, guiding drones into areas rigged with harmless but blinding energy bursts. The chaos was a strength. Unpredictability became a weapon the Galdar could not understand. Dr. Rachel Hayes coordinated satellite defenses. Using a combination of older communication satellites and improvised targeting systems, she managed to jam some of the alien signals. Drones lost coordination and drifted aimlessly, leaving gaps for human fighters to attack. Each success was a message: humans did not need to match alien technology, they needed to outthink it. Across the globe, cities that had been destroyed rose again in spirit. Makeshift hospitals were set up in empty buildings. Civilians shared food and water. Soldiers gave directions to escape routes. Every act of cooperation made humans stronger, and the aliens began to see a pattern that confused them. For all their technology, they could not predict human choice. Every decision seemed random, yet it worked in humanity's favor. Emily Parker's squadron engaged a larger alien drone carrier. The drones formed a barrier, expecting humans to retreat. Emily looped her jet in daring maneuvers, dodging plasma fire and using the sun to blind enemy sensors. Her co-pilots followed her lead, striking at weak points in the alien armor. Each successful hit caused small explosions, signaling to humans below that resistance was possible. Fear began to turn into courage. Mark Taylor watched the battle from the ground control center. He directed teams to move civilians to safer zones and coordinated with pilots like Emily. "Keep them distracted," he told his team. "Every second we buy them is a chance for someone else to survive." His words were simple, but the effect was profound. Humans were connected, united in ways the aliens could not comprehend. Linda Cooper activated an energy shield over a strategic city hub. It was crude and unpredictable but effective. Alien plasma blasts struck the shield, dispersing in all directions, some hitting alien drones by accident. The Galdar had not calculated human ingenuity in their simulations. They had assumed that humans would crumble under pressure, but instead, every unexpected tactic, every improvisation, made the aliens hesitate. On the streets, ordinary humans became heroes. Farmers used old tractors as barricades. Teachers guided children to safety. Medical staff treated injuries while under threat. Each small act of bravery contributed to the larger effort. Humans were improvising constantly, and the Galdar found it impossible to control. Their expectation of an easy victory was slipping away. Emily Parker led a daring strike on an alien supply ship. Flying low and fast, she dodged anti-air defenses and dropped a series of electromagnetic pulses that temporarily disabled the ship's navigation. The ship drifted, vulnerable, while other pilots attacked. It was a small victory, but it sent a clear message: humans would fight back no matter the odds. Even the alien commanders began to notice patterns they could not predict. Humans moved in chaotic, sometimes illogical ways, yet these actions created opportunities. The unpredictability, the courage, and the collaboration were something the Galdar had never faced. They adjusted their strategies, but each new human tactic forced them to rethink. Mark Taylor's team continued rescuing trapped civilians, even as fires spread. Smoke filled the streets, but they used protective suits and controlled demolitions to clear pathways. Each life saved became a symbol of resistance, and for those trapped, it was a reason to keep fighting. Linda Cooper's team continued to innovate, turning ordinary materials into defensive tools. Scraps of metal became shields, old electronics triggered traps, and simple machines disrupted alien drones. The creativity of humans was unstoppable. Every improvised tool became a lesson. Survival required intelligence, courage, and determination more than raw power. By nightfall, the first strike had ended, but the battle was far from over. Cities were damaged, fires still burned, but humans had proven that they could adapt. Every drone destroyed, every supply ship disabled, every life saved was a message. Humanity would not surrender, no matter the fire and chaos around them. Commander Jonathan Mills watched the city lights flicker below. He saw smoke rising but also saw signals of hope. Fighter jets returning, civilians helping one another, engineers preparing defenses for the next attack. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. "We may be outgunned, but we are never outmatched in courage. They do not understand us yet, but they will learn." Dr. Rachel Hayes joined him, her face smudged with soot, her eyes tired but alive with determination. They expected fear. They expected surrender. What they did not expect was humanity, she said. The Galdar watched from above, confused and increasingly frustrated. Every time they thought they had an advantage, humans found a way to turn it into an opportunity. They had underestimated not just the technology humans could wield, but the creativity, unity, and unpredictability that came from the human spirit. Emily Parker returned to base, exhausted but triumphant. Her jet was damaged, but she had survived, and her squadron had struck key alien targets. Each pilot shared the same feeling. Even in the face of overwhelming power, humans could fight back, and they would continue to fight. Mark Taylor and his team continued rescuing survivors through the night, while Linda Cooper's devices hummed and beeped as they prepared for the next wave of attacks. Across the world, people stayed awake, alert, ready to defend what they loved. Fear was present, but it was balanced by courage. Chaos had become strength. The first strike had ended, but its message was clear. Humans were not weak, and humans did not surrender. The Galdar had attacked expecting compliance, and instead they faced resistance, ingenuity, and unity. Humanity had turned survival into a weapon, and the aliens were beginning to understand that victory would be far more difficult than they had imagined. And so, as fires burned and cities trembled, humans prepared for what was to come. They would fight with courage, adapt with intelligence, and never, ever surrender. The battle for Earth had begun, and already humanity was proving that even the most advanced invaders had underestimated the spirit of humankind. The dawn broke over a battered Earth, smoke rising from cities that had been struck the night before. The alien fleet hovered above, their shadows stretching across the land like a dark promise. But humanity was not broken. The first strike had shown them that resistance was possible, and now humans were ready to turn the tide. Commander Jonathan Mills moved through the hidden bunkers beneath the mountains. From these fortified positions, he coordinated teams scattered across the globe. Screens displayed maps, communications, and satellite feeds. Every city, every military unit, every civilian resistance group was connected through these networks. Jonathan spoke calmly but firmly into the communication lines. Divide their attention. Force them to spread out. Every ship they commit is one less against our people. We fight smart. We fight together. Above Earth, Emily Parker led her squadron in hit-and-run attacks on alien supply ships. Flying low and fast, they darted through debris fields and used the shadows of clouds to remain hidden. They struck without warning, damaging fuel reserves, destroying drone factories, and cutting communications lines. Then, as quickly as they appeared, they vanished. The Galdar were bewildered. They had not prepared for attacks from small mobile units that appeared unpredictably and disappeared without trace. Each strike slowed their operations and forced them to rethink their strategies. Dr. Rachel Hayes worked tirelessly in her lab. She had discovered a way to access and hack parts of the alien communication network. By sending small signals and intercepting alien transmissions, she was able to learn their plans and sometimes even issue false commands. One of her early successes involved rerouting drones meant to attack a city into an empty desert. Another trick caused an alien supply ship to drift into a collision course with a satellite debris field. Her work gave humanity a critical advantage, turning technology that seemed invincible into something vulnerable. Jonathan Mills received a report from one of the field commanders. They lost 5 supply ships last night, the officer said. Their drones are behaving strangely. They don't know where to focus their attacks. Jonathan nodded. Good. Keep the pressure. Every victory counts, no matter the size. It will inspire others to fight. Humans were learning fast. They adapted quickly, using every resource they could find, every piece of intelligence, and every small advantage to their benefit. In the streets, civilians were no longer running in panic. They had begun to organize themselves into local defense units. Farmers, delivery drivers, and shopkeepers worked alongside soldiers and engineers. Barricades were built overnight, traps were set to slow the alien drones, and escape routes were mapped to move people safely. Communities were standing together, and each act of courage inspired more people to join the resistance. In orbit, Emily Parker and her squadron spotted a small alien transport carrying drones. They swooped in, releasing electromagnetic pulses that disabled the drone's navigation. The transport spun out of control and crashed into a nearby mountain range. Each success, no matter how small, sent a signal across the planet. Humans were not only surviving, they were fighting back. Dr. Rachel Hayes' hacking operations became even more daring. She intercepted messages between alien commanders and discovered a plan to divide their forces for a massive coordinated strike. She immediately sent the information to Jonathan Mills. They are planning a split attack, she said. We can exploit this. If we focus our forces on one side, we can slow them down. Jonathan quickly relayed orders to field units, coordinating a counterattack that would surprise the aliens. As humans gained confidence, their attacks became bolder. Guerrilla strikes were not limited to space. On Earth, hidden units sabotaged alien supply depots, disabled power sources, and set ambushes for alien patrols. Every small victory was amplified by word of mouth, creating a network of morale and inspiration. Even soldiers who had faced defeat before now fought with renewed energy. The Galdar began to notice the change. Their commanders held urgent meetings aboard the largest ship in orbit. Screens displayed damage reports, disrupted transmissions, and the unusual activity of human forces. The aliens had expected a simple war, one that would showcase their superiority. Instead, they faced a species that fought with determination, intelligence, and unity. For the first time, the Galdar realized that humans did not fight for conquest. They fought for survival, for their families, and for each other. In one city, a group of civilians guided by local leaders managed to disable an alien communications relay. By placing electromagnetic devices on the relay tower, they caused a temporary blackout that confused alien drones for hours. Soldiers quickly moved into position, capturing the disoriented drones. This small but daring operation became a symbol of human resilience. News spread rapidly across communication networks. Humans were fighting back and they were winning. Jonathan Mills coordinated these efforts like a conductor leading an orchestra. Each unit, each small team, each isolated victory was part of a larger strategy. It's not about destroying them all at once, he told his officers. It's about making them waste resources, spreading them thin, and showing them that every human stands together. Every act of courage counts. Emily Parker flew another mission, targeting an alien fuel depot hidden in a mountain range. Her squadron moved with precision, avoiding detection, and released explosive charges that destroyed the depot. The explosion lit the night sky, visible for miles, and the sound carried across the valleys. The aliens were unprepared for humans striking at hidden targets, and the psychological effect on both sides was enormous. Humans gained hope, aliens felt frustration. Meanwhile, Dr. Rachel Hayes discovered another weakness in the alien network. By sending small bursts of false data, she could make alien patrols attack phantom targets, wasting time and energy. Her team worked day and night, coordinating with soldiers and pilots to ensure the false signals were believable. Each successful disruption slowed the aliens' operations and allowed humans to strengthen their defenses. Mark Taylor's engineering teams continued to repair and improve Earth's defenses. Using salvaged alien parts from previous encounters, they built improved drones, reinforced barricades, and strengthened communication networks. The engineers' work gave civilians and soldiers alike confidence that they could survive, fight, and even strike back. The combination of human ingenuity and courage was becoming a formidable force. Even as the aliens retaliated, humans adapted. Each new tactic was met with a countermeasure. If one supply convoy was destroyed, another was hidden or rerouted. If one communication line was intercepted, humans established backups. The adaptability of humans frustrated the aliens, whose technology alone could not compensate for the unpredictability and unity of human resistance. The tide of the battle was slowly changing. Humans were no longer on the defensive, they were taking the initiative. Guerrilla tactics, hacking operations, daring strikes, and coordinated community defenses were forcing the aliens to fight differently than they had planned. For the first time, humans were shaping the battlefield rather than simply reacting to it. Jonathan Mills stood in the command center, looking at the glowing map of the planet filled with indicators of human activity. "We are making them pay for every move," he said. "They may have firepower, but we have courage, unity, and intelligence. That is stronger than anything they can bring." Dr. Rachel Hayes smiled faintly. "They thought humans would break under pressure," she said. "They don't understand us. They never will." Emily Parker returned from a night mission, exhausted but exhilarated. Her pilots shared the same feeling. Humans were no longer just surviving, they were winning small victories everywhere. Each strike was a story, each defense a triumph. Every human alive became part of a larger force that the aliens could not predict or control. The Galdar, once confident and arrogant, were now beginning to see cracks in their plans. Their supply lines were under constant threat, their communication networks disrupted, and their strategies countered at every turn. Humanity's courage, ingenuity, and determination were becoming more than a nuisance. They were a threat. Across the globe, ordinary people continued to fight in their own ways. Children delivered messages, farmers blocked supply routes, and communities worked together to rebuild and defend their homes. Each act, no matter how small, contributed to the larger effort. Humanity's strength was not just in its soldiers or technology, it was in the unity, creativity, and unbreakable spirit of every person who refused to surrender. As the sun rose again, Earth was battered but not broken. Humans had turned the tide of the battle, using guerrilla tactics, intelligence, and unity to make the Galdar rethink every move. Even with advanced technology, the aliens were losing control. Each victory, each small success, fueled morale, inspired more resistance, and made one truth clear: humans fought not for conquest but for survival, for each other, and for the planet they called home. And so, the war continued, but the balance had begun to shift. Humanity was no longer just defending, it was fighting back, striking smart, and proving that even against overwhelming power, courage and unity could change the course of history. The Galdar had underestimated humans once, and they would pay for that mistake again and again. The sky above New York was dark with alien ships. Hundreds of Galdar vessels hovered in orbit, their massive silhouettes blotting out the sun. This was no longer a scouting mission or a series of small attacks. This was the last strike, the one that the aliens believed would end humanity forever. Every command deck on Earth's defense networks was alive with activity. The tension was unlike anything Jonathan Mills had ever felt. He stood in the command bunker, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the alien fleet. Emily Parker, beside him, adjusted the flight coordinates of her squadron, her face calm but determined. They both knew the stakes. This was a battle for survival, and failure was not an option. Every city, every family, every life on Earth depended on their courage and strategy. Jonathan spoke to his officers over the comms. "This is it. We fight together. We fight smart. Every pilot, every engineer, every person on the ground, make this count. They expect fear. Give them courage instead. They expect surrender. Give them resistance." His voice carried authority, and those listening felt a spark of hope despite the fear. In orbit, Emily Parker's squadron raced toward the alien fleet. Their jets were small and fragile compared to the towering Galdar warships, but they were fast, agile, and unpredictable. Emily led daring maneuvers, diving between alien vessels, dodging plasma fire, and striking where it hurt the most. Each attack was precise, coordinated, and unexpected. The aliens tried to predict their movements, but humans did not follow patterns. They improvised. Anna Mitchell, another pilot, was in formation with Emily. Her jet twisted and rolled through the chaos, weaving through energy blasts that could destroy a building. She fired her pulse cannons at the engines of a drone carrier, causing it to spin out of control. Debris scattered across orbit, and the Galdar ships struggled to adjust. Every human pilot seemed fearless, almost untouchable. They were small in number, but their courage multiplied their effectiveness. On the ground, engineers deployed automated defense systems. Missile launchers, laser turrets, and anti-drone cannons came online across strategic points in the city. Linda Cooper oversaw the systems, coordinating them with the pilots in orbit. Every alien ship that came too close was met with a barrage of human ingenuity and firepower. Rockets streaked into the sky, laser turrets hummed as they tracked targets, and automated drones engaged alien units. The aliens were strong, but humans used numbers, strategy, and intelligence to fight back. Dr. Rachel Hayes worked feverishly in the Central Control Lab. She had developed a system to interfere with the alien fleet's navigation, and now was the moment to deploy it. With a few precise keystrokes, she activated the system. Across orbit, alien vessels began to miscalculate trajectories, colliding with one another, drifting off course, or overshooting their targets. The Galdar had never experienced a human sabotage system of this sophistication, yet it was simple, effective, and devastating. Below in the streets of New York, civilians watched the skies with awe and fear. The buildings shook from distant explosions and smoke filled the air, but humans did not flee. Volunteers helped firefighters, rescued the injured, and assisted soldiers. Humanity was everywhere at once, on the front lines, in hospitals, in the streets, in bunkers, in command centers. Each person, each small act of courage contributed to the larger effort. Humans were united, and their unity was growing stronger by the minute. The alien fleet fired relentlessly, plasma bolts striking buildings, streets, and rivers. Yet every time they thought humans would surrender, humans resisted harder. Pilots dodged with near-impossible maneuvers, ground defenses redirected attacks, and engineers improvised repairs on damaged infrastructure. Even when a building collapsed, its citizens were evacuated safely by neighbors and soldiers. Every life saved was a statement. Humans would fight to the end. Emily Parker executed another daring move. She dove between two massive warships, releasing an electromagnetic pulse that disabled multiple enemy drones. The drones drifted uncontrollably, colliding with each other, while her squadron struck the vulnerable hulls. The explosions lit the dark sky like fireworks, and below, the people cheered silently, watching their fighters take the offensive. The aliens were shocked. Their technology, their firepower, their planning, they were losing control. Anna Mitchell coordinated with ground units, guiding missiles toward key alien targets. Each strike destroyed fuel depots, energy shields, or weapon systems. Even though humans had far fewer resources, their strategy was multiplying their effectiveness. They were not relying solely on technology, they were relying on intelligence, coordination, and courage. Every small victory demoralized the aliens further. In orbit, alien commanders scrambled to regain control. They sent reinforcements, adjusted formations, and launched counterattacks. But every move was met with a new human tactic. Jonathan Mills monitored the battle, issuing orders quickly, thinking faster than the aliens could respond. "Keep pressure on their left flank," he instructed. Anna hit the supply ships there. Rachel continued jamming navigation. Linda focused defenses on the south sector. Each command was executed flawlessly, each human unit working as a single coordinated force. Dr. Rachel Hayes adjusted her system, extending the navigation jamming to cover the entire fleet. Alien ships collided, drifted out of formation, and fired at empty space. The confusion was complete. Humans, small and seemingly fragile, had outsmarted a technologically superior force. The Galdar did not understand the combination of courage, creativity, and unity that allowed humans to resist so effectively. On the ground, Mark Taylor and his teams repaired bridges, cleared streets, and ensured that emergency routes were open. They used salvaged materials to reinforce defenses, creating barriers that could slow alien troops in case of a landing. Civilians worked alongside them, carrying supplies, guiding the wounded, and even relaying messages. The human spirit was everywhere, an invisible shield stronger than any metal or plasma. Emily Parker led a final strike on a major alien command vessel. Using speed, agility, and precise timing, she and her squadron avoided heavy fire and struck the ship's weak points. Explosions rocked the vessel, sending debris into space. The aliens had not expected a human attack to reach their command ships so directly. Confusion spread through their fleet. Their coordination was faltering and fear began to creep in. Jonathan Mills looked at the reports coming in from the field. The aliens were retreating in some sectors, their formations broken, their plans failing. "This is it," he said quietly. "We've made them realize they cannot win against a united, clever, and courageous humanity. They underestimated us." Even as the battle raged, small victories continued across the city. Civilians guided damaged vehicles to safety, volunteers assisted emergency responders, and soldiers executed coordinated attacks against alien units. Humanity was relentless. Even when exhausted, they pushed forward. Each human act of courage fed another, creating an unstoppable wave of resistance. Anna Mitchell returned from her mission, breathing heavily but triumphant. She looked down at the city below and saw the flames, the smoke, the destruction, but also the determination, the bravery, the refusal to give up. Humans had survived impossible odds before, and now they had shown that even the most advanced invaders could be resisted. As night fell, the alien fleet retreated, disorganized and battered. Their weapon systems were damaged, their supply lines disrupted, and their morale shattered. Humans had fought with courage, creativity, and unity, proving that no technology alone could defeat a species willing to fight for survival. Jonathan Mills and Emily Parker stood together in the command center, watching the retreating ships. "They thought this would be the end," Emily said. "They didn't know we never give up." Jonathan nodded. "It's not over yet. We must prepare for what comes next. But today we've shown them something they will never forget. Humans are relentless. Humans do not surrender." Across the planet, the people of Earth celebrated quietly, helping one another, treating the wounded, and preparing for whatever else might come. The victory was hard-won, but humanity had survived. And the Galdar had learned a lesson they would never forget. Even with superior technology, humans could not be broken. Courage, unity, and cleverness were stronger than any weapon. In orbit, the stars reflected off the battered alien fleet as it retreated into space. Humans had fought with everything they had: brains, courage, heart, and determination. And as the smoke cleared over New York and cities around the world, it became clear to everyone, soldier and civilian alike, humanity was unstoppable. They were not just survivors, they were warriors. They were clever, brave, and united. They were relentless. And so, the final stand of humanity was not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter. The Galdar had learned too late that humans never surrender. The Galdar ships disappeared into the dark depths of space, their retreats swift and disorganized. Their massive armada, which had once threatened to wipe humanity from the face of Earth, was gone. What remained was a scarred planet, buildings reduced to rubble, cities in flames, forests burned, but alive. Humanity had survived. The people who had once feared extinction now looked up at the sky with a mixture of relief, pride, and cautious optimism. Commander Jonathan Mills stood on a temporary platform in New York, surrounded by reporters, military leaders, and civilians. His uniform was dusty, his face tired, but his eyes were steady and bright with determination. He raised his hands to calm the murmurs of the crowd. "We have survived because we never gave up," he said, his voice carrying across the devastated city. "Courage, unity, and creativity are stronger than any weapon. We fought together, and together we have won." People cheered softly at first, then louder as his words sank in. Soldiers clapped, civilians hugged each other, and tears of relief ran down faces that had known fear for so long. This victory was more than survival. It was proof that humanity, though small and often underestimated, could rise against any threat. Across the city, emergency responders continued their work, rescuing trapped civilians and treating the wounded, demonstrating that even in victory humans cared for each other. In the labs and workshops around the world, scientists and engineers turned their attention to understanding the alien technology left behind. Dr. Rachel Hayes led a team of researchers examining fragments of the Galdar ships. The technology was advanced, far beyond anything humans had ever seen. Yet, humanity had survived despite the odds. By studying it, they hoped to prepare for the future, to ensure that no alien force could ever threaten Earth unopposed again. Mark Taylor and his engineering teams focused on repair and innovation. Broken vehicles were rebuilt, automated defense systems improved, and energy grids restored. The lessons learned from battle fueled new ideas and technologies. Each invention was designed not only to protect humans but also to ensure that humanity would never be underestimated by any enemy again. Simple devices became powerful tools, and creativity combined with courage to create solutions the aliens could not have imagined. Pilots like Emily Parker and Anna Mitchell trained the next generation of space fighters. Young men and women, inspired by the bravery they had witnessed, learned to navigate, strategize, and act quickly under pressure. They studied alien tactics, practiced maneuvers, and learned to think like humans. Unpredictable, clever, and determined. These pilots would form the backbone of humanity's defenses for years to come. Even children who had watched the war unfold from shelters began to understand the importance of courage and teamwork. Schools incorporated lessons about strategy, survival, and cooperation. Communities rebuilt together, reinforcing the belief that every human, no matter how small or young, could contribute to the strength of the whole. Humanity had learned that survival was not just the responsibility of a few, it was the effort of all. Across the planet, life slowly returned to a fragile normal. Markets reopened, communication networks restored, and emergency services continued their work. Yet even in recovery there was a quiet vigilance. Humans knew that space was vast, full of unknown dangers. They were stronger now, but they were not complacent. Lessons from the Galdar invasion would remain in every mind, guiding future decisions and actions. Jonathan Mills continued to address the people, visiting damaged cities, military bases, and research facilities. He emphasized unity, creativity, and the human spirit. "We have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of," he said. "Not because we are the strongest, but because we fight together, we think together, and we never surrender. Let this be a warning to anyone who underestimates us. Humanity is not weak, and humanity will survive." In orbit, the remaining Galdar ships drifted silently. Their commanders convened, analyzing their defeat. They had expected a quick victory, a show of superior technology and power. Instead, they had been outsmarted, outmaneuvered, and outlasted by a species they thought was primitive. Confusion and shock rippled through their ranks. The lesson was clear, even if bitter. Humans were relentless, unpredictable, and united. Far beyond Earth, other civilizations began to take notice. Sensors across nearby star systems detected the retreating Galdar and their reports of resistance. Stories of humans surviving overwhelming odds spread quickly, carried by transmissions and rumors. Slowly, the galaxy began to recognize that these small, fragile creatures from a blue planet were not to be underestimated. The courage, intelligence, and unity of humanity became a legend, a warning to all who might consider them weak. On Earth, communities worked together to rebuild. Volunteers cleared debris, repaired homes, and helped the injured. Soldiers continued training, engineers refined technologies, and scientists studied the captured alien technology. Every effort reflected a single shared belief: humans would never surrender and humanity would never be caught off guard again. The experience had forged a stronger species, more resilient and united than ever before. Emily Parker and her fellow pilots shared stories with the new recruits. They told of daring strikes, last-minute maneuvers, and acts of bravery by ordinary civilians. These stories inspired young humans to believe in themselves, to understand that courage was not measured by size, skill, or weapon, but by willingness to stand and fight, even when the odds were against them. Anna Mitchell trained young pilots with a focus on creativity and adaptability. "They will try to predict you," she said, "but humans are unpredictable. Remember your instincts, work together, and never give up. That is our strength." Her words resonated deeply. The new generation understood that their power was not just technology, it was spirit, courage, and unity. In the research labs, Dr. Rachel Hayes and her team analyzed alien engines, weapon systems, and communication devices. Every discovery added to humanity's knowledge, every experiment preparing them for the future. The Galdar had left a trail of lessons, and humans were determined to learn from every one of them. Survival had been won through courage, unity, and ingenuity, and now humanity would turn those lessons into strength. Across Earth, governments and organizations worked together more closely than ever before. International cooperation, strengthened by shared experience, allowed for faster rebuilding, better defenses, and more coordinated responses to potential threats. Humanity had been forced to see the value in working together, not just for survival but for prosperity and security. Jonathan Mills watched from a command center as the sun rose over the horizon. Cities glowed with life, rivers reflected the early light, and the sounds of rebuilding filled the air. The world was scarred, but it was alive. Humans had survived the impossible. And in the quiet moments, he allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had done more than defend itself. They had proven something fundamental. The lesson was clear, not just to humans but to anyone listening across the stars. Humanity may be small. Humanity may be fragile in appearance. But when united, clever, and determined, humans were unstoppable. No technology, no army, no alien fleet could break their will. Courage, creativity, and unity had become their most powerful weapons. As Earth rebuilt, stories of bravery, sacrifice, and unity spread. Every child, every soldier, every scientist became part of the legacy. And every human learned that surrender was not an option. Even in the darkest hours, hope, courage, and determination could turn the tide. Humanity had survived against a force that seemed unbeatable, and the galaxy would remember it forever. Jonathan Mills addressed the world one last time during the celebrations. "We have survived and we will continue to thrive," he said. "The Galdar thought they could destroy us. They learned too late that humans never surrender. Let that truth guide us, protect us, and inspire us. Our courage, our unity, and our creativity define who we are. The galaxy should know, humanity is unstoppable when united." Across the globe, humanity reflected on the hard lessons learned. They rebuilt, innovated, and prepared for the future. The scars of war remained, but the spirit of humans was stronger than ever. Scientists, engineers, pilots, and civilians alike knew one undeniable truth: no matter the threat, no matter the enemy, humans would never surrender. And in that truth lay the foundation of a future filled with courage, hope, and resilience.